with Rachel V. Hill, taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel V. Hill.
What's up, guys? I am not Rachel V. Hill, clearly. Dante Gomez filling in today as she is off in Aruba. I am joined by our very own Jake Shapiro. How we doing, Jake?
I'm good. I'm excited, Dante. We've got T-minus 6 hours till my beautiful, beautiful Buffalo Ralphie runs out on Folsom Field. One of the best traditions in sports. Cannot wait to be down there and see Ralphie run. It's special. The leaves are changing. It is fall. I know it's hot as heck today still in Colorado, but I think we're all happy football's here, and football pretty much starts today in the state of Colorado.
Oh, yeah. Couldn't agree more. I am absolutely floating today. College football is back. Football's back. Actually, on my drive in today, I live near a school, drove by. There was a teacher out at like PE or recess, and he had a Shadur Sanders jersey on. So vibe is palpable around the city. Also drove by a car that had a bunch of North Dakota State stickers on the back of their car. So we're getting it from both sides, and I feel like the city's buzzing from it. All right, well, let's dive into it, Jake. Let's break down everything going on in Boulder today. And then everyone stick around because later we're going to play everyone's favorite game, Buffaloes versus Bison. I know Jake's real excited for that one. But yeah, let's dive into it. First, I want to get your take on opening it up on a Thursday night. Should have a lot of eyeballs, primetime TV. What do you think the feeling in the stadium is going to be? What do you think the feeling around the country is going to be in terms of how many viewers do you think we're going to get tonight?
Yeah, this is kind of interesting, Dante, because last year, obviously, the excitement with Prime was just off the charts. Every game was sold out. There wasn't a question of it. As of 48 hours ago, there were still 2,000 seats available for this game. So I don't know whether that's the 4 wins from last year, which probably isn't true of this fan base. It's a hardy fan base. That's one thing you can't say about the Colorado Buffaloes fan base is that they're not loyal. I mean, they won 1 game the year before and they all showed out for Prime, right? So they're definitely loyal. I think there's some aspects of this being somewhat of an unsexy game just because of it's against an FCS school. And you look what follows it. It's their rivals, the Colorado Buffaloes rivals at Nebraska, at Colorado State. And it's out of Thursday night at 6:00. I mean, anyone in Colorado knows how hard it is to get around Denver at 5 to 6 o'clock on an afternoon, on a Thursday, let alone Boulder. I mean, the basketball team has games at 6 o'clock on Thursday nights all the time. And I know season ticket holders who don't even try to make it up there in time. So this is just not the easiest time to go to a game. But ultimately, I do think that this is going to be a pretty wild atmosphere. North Dakota State is a good football program. This is not going to be an easy cakewalk of a win, especially for an FCS school. This is going to be a game for quite a bit, I believe. And I think that, the things that surround this program with Ralphie running, with the celebrities that are likely to be on the sideline, the new uniforms, and all the hype that comes with Prime, it'll more than make up for the fact that maybe this isn't the best atmosphere for a Prime game. And it's going to set up for what I believe to be a far more watched football game next week against Nebraska with Dylan Raiola, their starting quarterback, making his debut.
Yeah, very excited for next week in Nebraska. That should be a great game, especially following last year's game, which, had a lot of storylines going into it and kind of went down to that fourth quarter. So next week for Nebraska should be great. I will say going on that, I feel like those big time football programs usually don't have the best crowds early on in the season because they are against usually lesser opponents, and you kind of got to build into the hype and kind of earn your fans a little bit in terms of starting off, a strong non-conference schedule there. So we were talking about this a little before the show. So into the game here, started off as 8.5 point favorites. The line has moved up to 10, went back to 9.5, and now just looked right before the show, 10.5. Do you expect this game to be a double-digit win for the Buffs?
I got a lot of razz yesterday on TV in North Dakota because I said I think the Buffs are going to win by 2 touchdowns at least, if not three scores, somewhere in the ballpark of 14 to 19 points, somewhere around there. I think the Buffs are going to walk away from this pretty easily, Dante. The thing about this Colorado Buffaloes football team that fundamentally is misunderstood this year, while everyone wants to just talk about Prime and, journalists being banned from asking questions and blah, blah, blah. The actual football that's going to be taking place on the field, This is a really, really talented Colorado Buffaloes football team. Definitely the most talented roster they've had since 2016 when they won 10 games and went bowling. So that should not be a question if they should beat an FCS school. I know in the past this program has had those questions. In fact, losing twice to FCS schools in Boulder, even though this is a far better one than those ones that they faced, they still got 2 picks that are going to go in the top 10 of the NFL draft probably next spring. So the thing that's going to hold this team back, and this isn't just going to be tonight, but this is going to be the entire season, is this coaching staff. I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm not saying that they're a problem. I'm just saying it's a question mark, because last year we saw them change offensive coordinators in the middle of the season. We saw their defensive coordinator, Charles Kelly, basically blow that game against Stanford because of penalty calls and they couldn't set their defense. Okay. Well, how does Deion Sanders react with new coordinators? How do they communicate on the sideline? What does Pat Shurmur's offense look like? Does Deion get a little bit better at in-game management? I think that's a huge question mark going forward into year 2 of Coach Prime. And he's done a great job of basically everything, including getting the talent here on campus for year 2. Now it's about the execution on the field. And last year they struggled with that, particularly in the second half of the season. So that's one of my biggest question marks going forward. And I would love to see them play a clean football game today, whether that's, a minuscule amount of penalties, minuscule amount of mistakes, because I think that's ultimately going to be the telling point of how good the Colorado Buffaloes can be and if they can reach the ceiling that their talent may allow them to get to.
Yeah, no, definitely big question marks around the coaching staff. Brought in, a handful of new coordinators and assistants. So very excited to see that. So you kind of touched on a little bit. How do you see this game going in terms of, like, they say, styles make fights? Do you think it'll be a air it out kind of game for Shedeur Sanders? Do you think they're going to try to keep time possession, run the ball? I know Coach Prime has mentioned trying to run the ball, stop the run is, putting a bigger emphasis on that this season. Do you think they'll actually, follow what they were saying there? Or do you think they're going to revert back to just, hey, Shedeur Sanders, go win us this football game?
Yeah, to me, the recipe for success for this Colorado Buffaloes team this year is going to be how good of a passing game they have, like on offense and also on defense, how well they defend the pass, because they got a really good transfer, BJ Green. I know you know him, Dante. He's a heck of a football player. And that's the guy that's going to be leading their edge attack on defense. And they've got a couple different edge rushers that should be good at getting after the quarterback. And you couple that with the fact that Travis Hunter's in their secondary. Shiloh Sanders is a very capable college football player, and he's probably going to go late in the NFL draft. And then on top of that, you got a transfer in Preston Hodge, who's one of the cornerback transfers in the country, best cornerback transfers in the country. So you've got a couple really good guys who can defend the pass. In fact, you even have Trevor Woods, who's a longtime safety at Colorado, convert to linebacker. So your defense is built around defending against the pass, and your offense is built around passing with Shedeur, with the multitude of wide receivers and weapons on the outside they have. Hopefully the pass protection will be a lot better than it was last year. That's what people in Boulder are, got their fingers crossed for right now. As far as the running backs room, I have some question marks. I think Hayden's going to be a really talented player. I'm not sure that he's going to fit in particularly well. There's been a lot of talk about walk-on Charlie Offerdahl, which kind of concerns me as to what Hayden is actually up to. So I think what you will see in the attack with Pat Shurmur is a lot of what I call lateral running plays, bubble screens, RPO, jet sweep type actions where it's within the 3 yards of the line of scrimmage and they're moving laterally. So I think for Colorado, they've got to utilize and capitalize on the fact that they're probably going to be faster than just about everyone in the country. When it comes to a game against a team from a lower division like FCS North Dakota State, I think Colorado can maybe not tip all those cards today. Maybe they're going to be running the football a little bit more than they will be later on this season against the Kansas State or something like that. So I do think it will be important to establish the run tonight, but I do think that ultimately this season, Colorado may end up in a spot where they're more or less abandoning the traditional run.
Gotcha. And then does it matter how the game looks tonight if they are, fighting for their lives in the fourth quarter, if they are having Shedeur pass for 300 yards, if they are, however many different scenarios it can go? Does it matter to you how it looks on the field, or is a win a win at that point?
No, I think that's one of the things today, Dante, is it's not just a win. It's about the style points and how you do it, because you're expected to win. And if they don't win this game, there are some 5 alarm bells up in Boulder. This is a huge problem if they don't win this game. So when we talk about next week in Nebraska, I do not care how they win that game. They just got to scrap their way and they got to find a way to win that one. Today, it's about what does that first drive look like after all, post preseason getting that scripted, and what's the concepts going to look like? I'm sure they're going to look great. Like Florida State looked like the best team in the country for one drive last week, right? And then what's that second drive going to look like in terms of adjustment? And then when we come back at halftime, what are those halftime adjustments? Because that's the coaching staff really struggled with that last year. So these are some of the things I'll be looking for. But if you mention, Dante, that the game's going to be close late in the fourth quarter and Shedeur Sanders has the ball in his hands, I have no worries about Colorado winning that game. One thing you can't say about Shedeur Sanders is he isn't clutch. He was unbelievable in clutch situations last year, scored so many big touchdowns and balled while he was hurt. So I have no doubt about the ball being in Shedeur Sanders' hands in a tough situation. My doubts are still within the defense, and are the timeouts going to come at the right time? And please, 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 if it goes into overtime and you win the toss, do not elect to have the ball first. We learned that lesson.
We did. It ended up working out, but yeah, definitely not how you would have done it.
The first time, yes. Didn't work out the second time.
That's true. That is true. So it did come back to bite them there. And then you mentioned Shedeur there a little bit. I want to go on him and Travis here. They've been kind of in some outside discussions as far as Heisman goes. Do you think tonight's game can propel them into the thick of those and maybe make them, a little, because I think right now they're like, plus 6,000 or something in terms of Heisman odds. Do you think tonight's game can propel them in to the thick of those conversations?
So I've got a lot on this. One is, why was Bronny James projected to be in the draft by ESPN in their first mock draft for last spring, right? Well, he's a name. It's going to get you clicks. So putting Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter in any sort of Heisman Watch story is going to benefit the author. I'm not saying they don't rightfully deserve to be there. I'm just saying the media is incentivized in putting them in towards their preseason Heisman Watch. If you ask me, Travis Hunter played more snaps than anyone in college football last year, and he missed 3.5 games. If I had a Heisman vote this year and Travis played about the same level but just stayed on the field, that's a slam dunk Heisman. He's going to be one of the best corners and best wide receivers in football, and we're never going to see anything like that, and we haven't seen anything like that for quite a while. So that's why I think Travis is in a unique spot where he might actually be able to compete with the quarterbacks for the Heisman Trophy award. I really, really like Travis coming into this season. I like what I've read this offseason about him working with some sprinters. I think, we talked about this yesterday on Stoke and Dover. I heard them talking about it, and they were like, it's not time for him to focus on one side of the ball because he's elite at both of these things. I think he'd be a first-round pick at both DB or wide receiver, whichever he chooses. So I'm really excited for Travis Hunter's year. And, if football wasn't all about quarterbacks, at least in the awards voting, Travis would be a slam dunk for the Heisman. In terms of where Shedeur is, let's just traditionally look at it. What happens with Heisman voting? Well, you probably have to win 9 to 10 games, right? You got to be a quarterback. And you have to throw for probably 3,700 yards, have some rushing stuff as well. Can Shedeur do all of that? Yes, kind of, because the stuff within the record is out of his control. So that's what concerns me with Shedeur. I don't know if the team is going to be good enough around him for him to actually put together a legitimate Heisman campaign. But when we look at it towards the end of the year, and Cam Ward and Will Howard and Quinn Ewers and some of these best quarterbacks in college football, and how do Shedeur's stats rank up against them, I wouldn't be surprised if Shedeur's on par or better than a lot of those guys. Because you look at what Shedeur has done so far in his college career, better than what Mike Vick did early on in his college career. It's better than what Tom Brady did early on in his college career. So Shedeur's on the right path. The question is, can the team actually give him a platform for his campaign? And we'll find out really quick, about 3-4 weeks into the season, whether or not Shedeur's going to have a legit Heisman campaign. If they start out 3-1, 4-0, then yeah, he'll have a legit Heisman campaign because he truly is that good of a quarterback. And anyone saying that, it's the hype or whatever, they simply haven't watched Shedeur Sanders, because this guy has traits of Joe Burrow. This guy looks like Geno Smith sometimes did at West Virginia, where, he's just in control of everything, and he gets out of the pocket at the right times, and he throws these deep balls, and he throws this accurate passes within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. So I could not be higher on Shedeur. I just, again, have some question marks of, hey, can that offensive line hold up? I know that there were a lot of transfers. They spent a lot of the offseason working on it. Can it hold up? What does Pat Shurmur's offense look like after years of not really being an offensive coordinator in college football? So there's definitely some question marks. Whereas if you look at Cam Ward at the University of Miami, far less question marks in that situation. And that's how I stack it up right now going into the year.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I actually heard, Buffalo alumni Joel Klatt saying something similar about your Travis Hunter take there, that as far as non-quarterbacks go, he should be, up there with, anybody else. As far he plays more snaps than anybody else. He could be the best DB and best wide receiver in the country. So very excited to see. Oh, go ahead.
What's an interesting Travis Hunter stat? So, and I found this last year at the end of the year. So he had like 700 yards last year and let's say 6 touchdowns and 65 catches. Deion Sanders' entire NFL career, when he was playing wide receiver, his stats were almost the exact same as Travis Hunter's stats from his second season in college as a wide receiver with the Buffs. And Deion has said over and over again, Travis is better than what I was when I was his age. So just putting that out there.
Yeah, no, I am, learning from the best, I'm sure helps him out too. I'm sure that's why, a lot of people speculate that's why he did follow Coach Prime over here to Colorado as well. All right, well, let's get your final predictions. What do you, we're going to go 3 predictions here. Final score, how many viewers, and yes or no, do we get a contentious Deion post-game press conference?
Contentious Deion post-game press conference is like a rhetorical question. Yeah, that's the situation. And I'm here for it. He has got a lot of haters right now and a lot of doubters, and a lot of people want to group me in. Trust me. Look what's over my shoulder. I ain't one of them. But I'm here to see how that plays out in the post-game reaction, because we've really only heard him talk once or twice since a lot of this stuff has gone down. And this will be by far the biggest stage with the most amount of people there since a lot of the recent drama has taken place. So that'll be interesting. In terms of the score line, I think the Buffaloes are going to win this game probably 42-28, somewhere in that ballpark. Hopefully for their defense, it's, more like 21-48 or something like that. And, one of those is a late score that doesn't matter. So I really like this Colorado offense. You can't forget that last year they literally could not be stopped against TCU week 1. Shedeur Sanders in openers in his college career has been fantastic. So I think everything's going to look really good from the offensive point of view. And they're going to be humming pretty early, which will be cool to see. And then what was the third question?
How many viewers? Yeah, how many viewers we're going to get?
I'll go 4.4.
Okay, I like that number. I think, last year they were definitely a top 10 team in terms of viewership, and they had multiple games within the top 10 of viewership. So I definitely think that Nebraska game will do a lot of numbers. So that'll be one of those games I'm looking out 2 days after the game to see how many viewers they end up getting. I'm with you as far as score. I think they win by 2 touchdowns. I'm guessing 34-20 kind of game. That feels right. Maybe a little more points as well. This offense is rolling, and as far as Coach Prime trying to get his guy into the Heisman conversation, I could see him trying to run up that score a little bit towards the end there too. So,
exactly. Today's the day. This is their only home non-conference game. If Shedeur or Travis are really going to seriously mount a Heisman campaign, they've got to tack on some yardage and some touchdown today. They really got to run it up.
Yeah, no. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. And all right, let's finish up with everybody's favorite game here. We got Buffaloes versus Bison, Jake. All right, so got 4 questions here, and it's multiple choice, just either Buffaloes or Bison. And we'll start with number 1. This animal is known to have a thick beard, while the other is beardless.
A bison has a thick beard, and a buffalo is beardless.
Correct. I didn't know what your knowledge of buffaloes and bison were going into this. Also, just for some clarification on the game, we're playing Buffalo versus Bison because the CU is obviously the Buffaloes, and North Dakota State, their opponent today, are the Bison. So just want to give a quick background on that. All right, so 1 for 1. Number 2, this animal is known to have large horns. Some have reached over 6 feet.
That would be the water buffalo.
Correct. Buffalo. Okay, well, you're making a mockery of my game here. This animal has a large hump on the shoulders to allow the animal's head to function as a plow.
Oh, that's a bison. They be hitting each other on the prairie.
All right, 3 for 3, and let's see if we can go perfect here. Perfect 4 for 4. This animal is indigenous to South Asia, while the other is found in North America and
Water
parts of
buffalo,
Europe.
water buffalo, water buffalo. So this, you know why this is so easy for me, Dante? One, because CU's got the best mascot in sports. So I want to know everything I can possibly know about buffaloes and bison. So that's number one. Number two, oh, by the way, I almost stepped in Ralphie's excrement last year. That was funny. Go ask anyone at the station who was there. I almost fell into it during one of the games. Pretty funny. It was funny because I didn't. It would have been not funny if I had. But I know all this because my students up at CU Boulder in the class that I teach are working on a story at this game about the difference between buffaloes and bison. So I had the easiest little tip off. I actually had one of them talk to a zoology expert yesterday. So we're golden, Dante. We know everything we need to know. As far as your Sun Devils, I know that there's the sun, and I know that they represent something that none of us want to mess with.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, actually, we got rid of Sparky because of that reason. That's why it's now just the Pitchforks is the main logo, is the Sun Devils. Well, I guess the game was too easy for you. I should have maybe done some some deeper digging into some more research. But Jake, appreciate you joining me. You can catch Jake on the afternoon drive today later as he'll join Zach and Phil. That'll get going here in a couple hours. Should make a couple appearances there. So looking forward to that as well. If you want to get some more CU and Jake Shapiro coverage. But everyone, thank you for hanging out with us, and we will be back tomorrow at noon.